You're welcome to Jolash Online TV. It's another program where we on family building, where we equip parents. I am Chinyere Adeyemo. You're welcome to today's program. We are aware that a lot of our children are on holidays now. And then as parents, we will be looking at ways we endanger our children ignorantly. Did you get that? Ways we endanger our children ignorantly as parents, and how we can correct that. So today's program is to bring to your awareness, to sensitize you on ways you may be endangering your child without even taking cognizance of it. Like I said, this is Jolash Online TV. I am Chinyere Adeyemo. The first way, as a parent, you may be endangering your child without being aware that you're endangering your child, especially this holiday period, is the instructions, is by the instructions you give them. You know, generally when we give our children instructions, we tell them, make sure we expect complete obedience from them. Now we're bringing this to light in view of the fact that with the holidays ongoing, many child sexual abusers are on the prowl to abuse our children. And sadly, many parents actually put their children in the way of harm that make it easier for these abusers to abuse the children. The first way I want to talk about is when we take our children out. Maybe you take them to stay with some relations, not necessarily to live or to spend holiday there. You know, you just took them there, or maybe you even send them on holidays there, you know. And then you tell the children, be a good girl, be a good boy, make sure you obey everything you are told. Have you seen how that can endanger your child? I mean, unknowingly to you as a parent, you send your child to a person who has the tendencies to sexually abuse children, or a pedophile, without your knowledge. You don't know the person abuses children. And then you give your child this instruction, especially when they are under 10, and you say, make sure you obey everything you are told there. Now, you know, when there is a situation of sexual abuse, you have already put that child in harm's way by asking that child, by telling that child, by instructing that child to make sure he or she obeys everything he or she is asked to do. And it's even worse when the abuser heard that instruction, because they will use it to emotionally blackmail the child. They will use it to tell the child that, see, your mommy said you should obey everything I say. Now, talking about child sexual abuse, you know, it is not every time that children are sexually abused through sex. Sexual abuse is not just when there is sexual intercourse. Yes, there will be sexual touches. So we're also looking at how we ignorantly endanger our children and put them in harm's way for abusers to even do sexual things to them. For instance, you take your child to stay with an uncle, an aunt, and don't forget that child sexual abuse is not only about the girl child being sexually touched. Boy children are being abused massively these days. So when we're talking child sexual abuse, don't just think of the girl child. We're also thinking of the boy child. And child sexual abuse is not just, like I said earlier, it's not just about the penetration, sexual penetration. There's the contact form and the non-contact form. So when our children are even made to view sexual content, like sexual movies, like sexual lyrics, sexual musicals, It is also termed as child sexual abuse. So imagine sending your child to that friend's house or that relation's house, and in the house where perhaps anything goes, the child is there and they are viewing perhaps a sexual musical video. Remember, you have told your child from home, make sure you obey everything you are told. And then let's say the teenagers or the adults there are watching it. And then your child is told, okay, watch. You know, that's a form of sexual abuse. Have you thought about that as a parent? So this holiday period, be intentional about the instructions you give your children. If you ask me, telling them obey everything you are told is not safe. As much as I know that instruction is supposed to elicit total obedience and compliance, it is actually not a safe, it is not the safest of instructions to give your children at this time. So why not tell them the things they should not obey and the things, well, you may never be able to know everything they will obey, but give them categorically those things they should not obey. Because if we're going to protect them from child sexual abuse, we must be clear with our instructions to them. So the first instruction, the first way we endanger our children is when we tell them, when we take them out and we say, see, make sure you obey everything you are told. Be a good boy, be a good girl, and make sure you obey everything you are told. Make sure you obey everything you are told is not safe enough. Now, what's the second instruction? The second instruction can even be when the child is at home. The child is at home alone. And then the child ignorantly, you didn't instruct the child ignorantly opens the door for anybody, even the person they know. Did you read about that story? There was a story that trended some time back. There was, I think it was a 9-year-old girl, the daughter of a pastor, who opened the door. That day she was alone at home. She had a brother. She had an older brother who was friends with the person who eventually came home, abused her, and killed her. In fact, that family had taken this other boy as their son, you know, such that even when they traveled, when they had family vacations, they took the boy along. He was a teenager. Now, he was an undergraduate. The son of the family too was an undergraduate. They had become so close. Unknown to them, this boy was nursing bad intentions against the girl. Do you know what happened that day? Fortunately, 2 or 3 days earlier, the father had this strong impression to install a CCTV in the house, and he installed it. In fact, the wife didn't want him to install it, but he installed it. But everybody in the house didn't know, because this other abuser had become a member of the household. He was not aware. So he just installed it. And that day, this 9-year-old girl was at home. So as she saw that the, in quotes, second elder brother had come, she didn't think there was any harm. She opened the door. The house help had gone out to buy some things. So she just felt, okay, this is a known person. She opened the door innocently. And as she opened the door, this other boy, unknown to them, he was even at some point, he was a cult boy. But he had been acting like a good boy, like a family member. You know what happened? This boy tried to molest this girl. The girl was shocked, expectedly. You know, for children, when people they know, people they love, people they respect, try to abuse them sexually, first they are shocked, then they are confused, then they become numb. And you see, this reaction sometimes are the things that make it easier for these abusers to abuse them with ease, because the child is already even confused. So in the child's confusion, the child tends to obey whatever the abuser says. So this boy came in that day. He tried to abuse the girl. The girl was shocked. The girl was confused, you know, and he tried to cover her mouth. After he actually had his way with her in the sitting room. Unknown to him, the CCTV was recording it. So he abused her. The child resisted, but he covered her mouth with a throw pillow, had his way with her. Then I think he even poured some sniper in her mouth and left the remaining bottle there, so it will look like the girl had committed suicide. In his mind, he had erased every trace that will point to him. When the house help came in, saw the condition of the girl, called the father in panic, called the mother, the girl had died, sadly. So by the time they reported to the police, they checked the CCTV footage, they saw this boy. And you know, the boy had just gone like nothing had happened. The family was, they were broken. So the police asked the father to invite the boy, you know, just like a casual call. Just come, I'd like you to come and do something. He didn't know they had known, because he didn't even know there was a CCTV in the house. Do you know what happened? He too, he went, and that was how he was arrested. He tried denying. When he saw the CCTV footage, he could not deny. Now, how did the parents go wrong? Was it really that they went wrong? Well, in child protection, we will say that they went wrong, kind of. Because you see, that girl was not supposed to have opened the door and closed it with the boy alone. I agree, you may argue that the boy had become like an elder brother and all that, but he was still a stranger, and he proved it. In fact, as they were now thinking, I think somewhere along the line, the boy had started, you know, he hit her the first day before this abuse that now that killed her. He hit her, he touched her sexually the first day, but he made it look like a mistake to see the girl's reaction. So he apologized, and the girl took it innocently that it was nothing. So no family member knew. Can I tell you something as a parent? You have to be careful who you trust. For me as a mother, trust is earned. And you know, especially for our younger children who trust very easily, we have to ensure that we protect them doubly by giving them instructions. Let me tell you a personal example, a personal thing that happened to me. There was a day I left my younger son at home. My younger son is 9, and I had a presentation to do with and his older brother followed me. Now, as that presentation was going on, we had finished, and I needed to talk with the young people I went to do a presentation for. It was also a child sexual abuse presentation. Do you know what happened? We got a call from my older son's friend. He called my older son to say he was at home. To say I was shocked is an understatement. You know what it meant? That his friend had gained entrance into my home, and it was only my younger son that was at home. My mind went to this first story I told you. Yes, I am also guilty. I had not given my son that instruction that, see, don't open the gate for anybody, even if it is somebody you know. Now, because he saw that it was his older brother's friend, he didn't think it was dangerous. He opened the gate. He didn't even call to ask because he was familiar with the boy. Thankfully, that boy did not abuse him. But you see, immediately we got that call that the friend was at home, I asked my older son to quickly go back home, that there was danger. He didn't even understand everything I was saying, but I wanted him to go back home to go and stay with his younger brother. Yes, that may have been medicine after death, but thankfully, thank God, it worked for me. The boy was not, his friend, my son's friend, was not an abuser. But that was what happened with that other child. Sometimes we trust, we tend to over trust, or we do not give clear instructions enough. For instance, that day I didn't give the instructions clearly. We didn't even know his brother's friend will come home, so we didn't think anybody would come. But that was wrong on my part. So I don't want you to make the kind of mistake I made. Make sure you take in all the things that could go wrong and give clear instructions on them. So we've looked at 2 ways that we endanger our children. The third way we endanger our children is when we do not intentionally carry them along as we try to protect them. Imagine saying, don't talk to strangers. Imagine saying, don't open the gate for anybody. And you do not tell them why they should not open the gate for anybody. You do not tell them what you are protecting them from. Now, the best way to protect our children is to ensure they are also intentionally, they are consciously on board with us on that train of protection. They must know what we are protecting them from. They must know why we are protecting them, especially as it concerns child sexual abuse. So when you're telling your child, I don't want you to, if anybody tries to touch you sexually, say no. Let them know why you're also telling them to say no. It's not enough to just say no. Let them understand the dangers, the implications, what it is you are protecting them from. It is holiday time, and research tells us that holiday times are a very stressful period for children, because then stressful in the sense that it is the time many abusers tend to go to work and abuse the children, because they are freer. Those who don't go for summer classes and all that, they are freer, and then they are more vulnerable. So it is the time you should teach them safety tips. Safety tips about child sexual abuse, safety tips about fire, safety tips about everything. If we're going to protect our children, we must carry them along. And these children, this generation, they are why children. You tell them, don't do this, I don't want you to do this, they tell you why. I don't want you to do that, they tell you why. What do you think you should do? Tell them why you are telling them not to do it. Because by telling them, by answering their whys, you are actually enforcing that safety some more. They will be actively involved in their safety. They will be actively involved in their protection. They will know why you are protecting them. That it is not just because you want to impose instructions on them. It is also because of their safety. And you know what? They will also protect their friends. Because being children, they will tell their friends, don't do this because of this. Child safety is a serious issue. Now, before I wrap up, a quick recap on what child sexual abuse is. Child sexual abuse is not just sexual penetration or sexual intercourse with a child. Child sexual abuse is any form of interaction, any form of sexual activity an adult has with a child without the child's consent. And you see, by law, the child cannot even give consent. The child ought not to give consent for such things. And when the adult imposes his will on such a child. Now, let me say too that this can also happen between children. So child sexual abuse is not just about an adult sexually abusing, a male adult or female adult sexually abusing a boy or a girl. It can also happen between children. We have said that children should be protected. Now, when children are shown sexual contents, they didn't touch them, but they are shown this content, it is also sexual abuse. When children are made to view sexual content and maybe even demonstrate, it is also sexual abuse. When children are also touched sexually, caressing, pecking, necking, then even oral sex, fingering and all that, it is also child sexual abuse. Have you learned anything today? Have you learned ways you can actually be endangering your child? Will you join us in this fight and protect your child by giving instructions clearly? Don't be ambiguous about it. Let the child know. Get the feedback. What did I say? What did you hear? What did I say? Give those instructions clearly. When your child is home alone, give the child instructions clearly that will protect the child, and ensure that you carry this child along as you make every provision to protect the child. I hope you have enjoyed today's program. It has been tips and opening your eyes to ways you endanger your child. Did you learn anything? Till I come your way next week on Jolash Online TV. This is Chinyere Adeyemo saying, protect your child. Protect that child for us. Thank you. See you next time.